Welcome into the Bonesville Pregame Podcast. Al Myatt, joined by Kevin Monroe. Kevin, of course, outstanding defensive back for East Carolina in his playing days and now a vital part of the Pirate Radio Network. And Kevin, of course, at Dowdy-Ficklen Stadium last week. Kevin, if we could have stopped the game in the third quarter, after the third quarter, been good for the Pirates, but big fourth quarter for Marshall. The game kind of pivoted on a trick play, a double pass, 75-yard touchdown for the Thundering Herd. And then they got two more scoring runs from Rasheen Ali with the momentum late in the game, 31-13 win for Marshall. Very similar to the 2021 game in Huntington, in that East Carolina scored 21 points in the fourth quarter there for a 42-38 victory on the road, and much needed at that time. But the trick play, that just seemed to get Marshall untracked, and it was something that East Carolina could not overcome.
Yeah, so many things, Al. Just looking at that game, Marshall starts off with a 10-0 lead, and East Carolina can't quite get things going. And then it finally starts to click. They start making some plays, and they go up, go on a 13-0 run. They're up 13-10. And then Marshall comes right back and scores basically the rest of the points of the game. As you said, 21 unanswered to finish off the game. East Carolina doesn't score again. You talk about the double pass. That was huge, especially when hearing Coach Houston talk about it. It sounds like they weren't caught off guard. That they, it's a play they've seen before from Marshall. They felt like they had the right defense called. They talked about it before, the play happened. And it's just all about, a player or two not following their scheme, not following the correct keys, and just letting the receiver go, trying to make a play. And, there's lots of ways to look at it. You like for players to just cut loose and make plays, but you also got to know your keys, to understand the game, and to stay deep when you need to stay deep. And that was a big, big play. It kind of turned the game on its head. Turnovers late also were an issue. And you mentioned the 2021 game. Well, the 2021 game, Rasheen Ali just kind of ran all over the Pirates. And this game, for 3 3/4 quarters almost, it seemed like they had him bottled up. I mean, at one point, I want to say he had 13 or 14 carries for 8 yards. And I was keeping count, he had 7 negative rushes, 7 plays where he went backwards. And so it was probably the worst game he'd ever had. And then all of a sudden he breaks one for, I think, 50-some-odd yards for a touchdown, gets another nice run or two later, ends up with 85 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns. So it looks like a great game. But for the most part, he was bottled up. And, you play a game like that where you stop the best player, you'd expect the Pirates to be on the winning end. But that was not the case.
And 2 quarterbacks for East Carolina. We haven't really resolved that position, it doesn't appear at this point. Mason Garcia ran the ball well. His passing numbers were not good. He had an interception in the fourth quarter that led to a Marshall score, short field. And then Alex Flynn comes in. He's pretty much one-dimensional. It's pretty clear that he's going to have to throw the ball for East Carolina to make a comeback. But, Kevin, I look at Mason Garcia, I see a tight end. And I shared that with you earlier. And I'm sure that, he's been groomed as a quarterback, but just trying to figure out how East Carolina might utilize its personnel. He can certainly go forward with the football.
Yeah, Al, this is a tough one because I was a huge Mason Garcia fan, still am, as a person, as a player. I'm just not sure as a quarterback if he has developed the way he should have. And I hear a lot of people put this on the coaching staff. They say, well, Coach Houston, Coach Kirkpatrick, should have developed this kid. Well, as a former player, he is in year 4. 2020 was his rookie year. Didn't count against him because it was a COVID year. 2021, he played some. And then 2022, he redshirted, but still played some because of the 4-game rule. And so coming into your 4th year, as a player, you have to be ready to play. You've had plenty of time to get yourself prepared, not to mention how much time the coaches have put into you. No players get to sit for 3 years and go into their position and not be prepared. And I don't know if it's a lack of preparedness or if it's nerves when he gets in the game, but he doesn't cut the ball loose. He doesn't just throw the ball, make a read, make a throw. He thinks, he looks at defensive linemen coming at him, and it's becoming a problem. I think this is something he can work through potentially. The question is, do the Pirates have the time to wait on him to do those things? When Alex Flynn came in, first throw was a 44-yard post route. And I'm not saying because he completed a deep ball that, he should be the starter. My point is he made a read, he made a throw, and then he did it again, he did it again, he did it again. Now, they weren't all completions. Some of them were a little bit too wide. Some of them were, went off the receiver's hands. But a play was called, he read the defense, he made a throw. And that's what we're not getting from Mason Garcia. So I don't know why. I don't know what the issue is. He had the same defensive line, that Alex had coming at him, same offensive line blocking. But Alex got rid of the football. And I think, for my money, if you're going to go to App State and win, you're going to have a quarterback that's decisive, and that'll make throws to give his receivers the best chance to make a play. And for what I've seen through 2 games, it seems like that's probably Alex Flynn. Doesn't mean there's not a role for Mason Garcia in the offense. Certainly he can come in and, in a running package. There could be plays where there's both quarterbacks on the field at the same time to keep the defense off balance. You mentioned tight end. I don't know if they're going to change his position at this late in his career. But something needs to happen to where he feels like he can either be free to just throw the football around, or if he can't, Alex Flynn's got to take that role on so the Pirates can go win. If you're asking me what I think the problem is with the offense, I think obviously there's some issues at offensive line at times. They could be better. We got to get the running game going, but it all starts at quarterback. If you can't throw the football, then you can't run the football. And if you can't run the football, you can't throw the football. They go interchangeably. And right now, the Pirates are stagnant at quarterback, and it's keeping them down.
Kevin, I look back, and Shane Carden was not the starter going to South Carolina, season opener. And I'm not sure what year that was. It was maybe 2012, but guess there. But Lincoln Riley, offensive coordinator, and he went with another guy, I think, to start that season. And they changed to Shane Carden and never looked back. And really nobody has emerged this year. I look at Scripture, and a verse came to mind: the sheep know the shepherd's voice. There's not two shepherds. And I just think for offensive leadership, those guys need to be looking at one guy. We had one guy for 5 years, Holton Ahlers. And now we're trying to figure it out. And I just think, by the time we get to conference play, which will be after the Gardner-Webb game next week, that offense needs to be honed in on one guy. He needs to be getting the majority of reps and developing with that offense.
Well, if both guys were playing well and we just couldn't decide between the two, I would be okay with it. I think the issue is they're not both playing well. Neither's playing terrible. Neither's playing great. But one seems to have a better grasp of the offense than the other, and he seems to give us a better chance to win. Now, if their coaches aren't seeing that in practice, I'm not a coach. I can't make those decisions. But in games so far, one person seems like he can get the ball out and complete passes to wide receivers. The other one seems very hesitant to do that. And if you have that as your issue, then I'm with you. You have to go with one guy. If both guys are playing great and they just wanted to kind of work on both ends, I'd be okay with that because the offense wouldn't suffer. But right now, I feel like the offense is suffering.
Kevin, that's a good point. And I know nobody wants to win more than Mike Houston and the coaching staff. And so I'm going to be confident in them to do what's best for the program. And, of course, Appalachian State, 3:30 on Saturday, Kidd Brewer Stadium in Boone. It seats 30,000. I think they were at capacity or better for all 7 home games last year. So count on there being a big crowd there in Boone. First time the Pirates have played there since 1979. and they played on a regular basis when East Carolina started its program back in 1932, I think. And the Mountaineers won the first 10 meetings through 1952. So history is on their side, but they're coming off a double overtime loss at UNC Chapel Hill. And how do you think that will affect their frame of mind for Saturday?
Certainly, they think that they're better than us. They have no reason not to. They've played a top 25 opponent and should have probably won that football game. So they're feeling good about things. I think the difference between us and Carolina is Carolina is not necessarily known for their defense, specifically not their run defense. And App State, behind their really good running back, Nate Noel, he's averaging almost 5 yards a carry, over 120 yards a game. They want to pound the football. Joey Aguilar at quarterback can run it a little bit as well. They want to run the football. And East Carolina is good against the run. That's probably the best part of the whole program, the whole offense or defense, is stopping the run. That front seven is really, really good. And so I think App State finds it harder than they think coming into this game to run the football. They're going to find it harder than they think. And so it'll force them to throw the football a little bit more. And if they can do that, they will have seen that, both Fancher and McCarthy have had success throwing the football against the Pirates. And so that's certainly a way to beat us. But I feel pretty good about the game, at least keeping it close early on, because the Pirates can stop the run. And I'm sure App State's going to try to establish a run and stick with it and see if they can make it work. The issue we're going to have is keeping pace if we can't move the ball offensively. And that's been the problem going on so far this season. We only have the one touchdown through 2 games. And so if you can't move the football, you can't beat people. I do think they will, slow down App. I don't think App's going to score the 39 points that they've been averaging so far this year. But I don't know that East Carolina can score with them unless they show us something different here this weekend.
The stadium at Appalachian State, I believe, is synthetic turf. I think they were the first program in the Carolinas to have an artificial surface. And how might that affect things Saturday?
I think that, enough teams in the conference, in the AAC have it. The Florida schools, Texas schools, the Pirates have played on it a ton. I don't think that'll be a big issue. I think it's very smart for them up in the mountains with all the different elements and the snow and the ice and the rain to have a synthetic field that won't get torn up in the elements. But I don't expect it to be an issue. I do love that stadium. I think I mentioned to you that my family and I go up to Boone, Blowing Rock once a year, have for the last probably 10 years. And so we always go by the stadium and go on campus and different things. So I love that area. It's a great place to go see a football game. I expect the Pirate fans to travel well, but it will be a sold-out crowd because that's what they do up in Boone. They love their football. But I don't think the split playing surface will be that big an issue.
Kevin, if you had the opportunity to speak to the team Friday night or maybe even Saturday before kickoff, what would your focus be?
We have an identity over the last couple of years of being hard-nosed, of playing to the end, of winning close games, winning enough to get to a bowl. Like we have turned things around to where we are now a winning program under Coach Houston. Maybe not all total in his 5+ years, but just in the last 2 years, that is now our identity. And so you have to play like a winning team. You have to think like a winning team. You have to act like a winning team because losing can become contagious. And when things start to go wrong, you start to lower your head and start to feel sorry for yourself. And the defense starts to blame the offense and the offense starts to blame the defense and you fracture as a program. They have to stay together through these tough periods. They've had a consistent quarterback, as you said, for the last 5 years. And listen, not everyone loved Holt Nailers. But what we're seeing now is we probably wish that he was still around because he moved the offense and they scored points. And so that's the thing that we're missing. The team has to be patient. The offense has to be patient because we know what Rajay Harris can do when the offense is opened up and we're throwing the ball. We got a good mix of run and pass. He can make it happen. And we know what some of these receivers can do. Jalen Johnson is a really good player. Josiah Hatfield can make things happen. There's players out there that can make plays if the offense gets it going. So just to the whole team, I'm saying act like winners, prepare like winners, and stay tight as a unit, and don't let this thing break up because a couple things haven't gone your way earlier in the season.
Very good. Very good. I'm going to bring in a special guest here. This is Little Pirate Man, and
Nice.
he wants to know about that Bonesville tradition, Kevin's keys to the game.
Absolutely. Well, so my keys this week, I spoke a lot about it here a little while ago about the defense, but the Pirate defense has been so good against the run. They did it against Michigan's 2 top backs. They did it again against the top back, Rasheen Ali at Marshall, even though he broke one big late. They have to continue to stop the run. They want to run the football. Nate Noel, as I mentioned, 5 yards a carry, 121 yards a game. He wants to make an impact on the game. The Pirates cannot afford to let him do that. So stopping the run is the first, foremost, and the biggest key of this game. Secondly, it's quarterback. I mean, there's no way around it. The quarterback play has to be better. I don't know if we're going to be flipping back and forth between the two, or if we're going to go with Mason or just with Alex, whoever it is. They need to be consistent. They have to complete passes, move the chains, get the running game involved. But the offense has got to score. They're going to have to score 3 touchdowns or more in this ball game to have a chance to win. So the 1 touchdown through 2 games is not going to get it done. So offensively, they got to move the chains, be consistent at quarterback, and then just be consistent in the special teams game. Maybe break a big one in the return game, maybe get a block or something defensively. You got to find a way to make a play in the special teams game and be solid kicking the ball. You can't afford to get anything blocked, and you got to make a field goal. So far, Andrew Conrad's been a good player. More makes than misses. That's what you need. The punting game has been subpar. They haven't got anything blocked. They haven't got any big returns, but there's been no major airtime, no deep kicks. So they got to be better in the punting game. But you just have to be consistent in the special teams to beat a team on the road like App State.
Very good. And Kevin, we'll hope for the best, see what we see on Saturday, and I look forward to talking with you next week on the Bonesville Pregame Podcast.
Sounds good. Appreciate it, Al.